Welcome back to Lower Lap Time, ladies and gentlemen. As we move into the Imola Grand Prix, it's impossible to not forget Ayrton Senna. He died there 1994 at the Tamburello corner. It was a fast, flat-out left-hander. I'm going to get onto that a little bit in this live stream later as well. And of course, Roland Ratzenberger, he died, I think, on the Saturday at the Villeneuve chicane. So a few corners after where Ayrton passed away. The whole track has been rejigged since then to what we know it now. And I think it's important that, as a fan of the sport, you're up to date with the history and you know the changes to the track. Tamburello, no longer the long straight. Now it's the first chicane. So straight into one of the 7 technical corners. Is Ayrton Senna the greatest of all time? Perhaps a conversation for another day. I think he'd be up there in there with the likes of Michael Schumacher and Max Verstappen, maybe Lewis as well in that conversation. But like I say, conversation for another day. Who we got in the chat, guys? If you have a question, like a burning question, definitely stick it in the chat as a super chat. We will have time for other questions later down the track. And obviously, if you're a member, I'll try to prioritize your questions as well. Who have we got in the chat? Barbara Martina says, hello, I am in Imola, my first F1 race. I'm in the Parco Acqua Minerale having lunch before going to the F1 fan zone. Lovely, Barbara. Enjoy. Good spot. Difficult corner to get right. You'll see a few people run wide potentially there, lock up the inside front right into there as well. Tough, tricky little corner as it starts to go uphill. There's struggles for traction. Email me a few pictures. That'd be great. I'd love to see them. Like I say, guys, if you have a question or a chat as well. Lou Sequoia, a beautiful beginning. Thank you. Like I say, I thought it was nice to just remember Ayrton, of course. This is where he passed away. And Barbara, if you get a chance, go have a look at the memorial that's over there. That would be nice as well, at the Tamburello corner. Barbara, weather is super nice today. Hot. Okay, we're going to get onto the weather as well. Maybe you can fill us in, but I think we're expecting 20 to 23 throughout this weekend. There was rain looking like possible on Sunday, but I think that's been pushed back to Monday now. So we don't have that. Just if you guys saw the shot, there was a particular shot that I want to draw your attention to as we start to talk about chicanes. Just one of the shots in the preview with Ayrton Senna. I hope you can see that on the screen in front of you. Barbara, I'll just bring your comment down. So this was Ayrton in one of the chicanes in Monaco, just after the swimming pool, I think it is. Yeah, just after the swimming pool. And I just wanted to highlight to you the beautiful technique that Ayrton was demonstrating. Again, this photo was in the introduction. You can see the rubber here where most of the other drivers would be putting their right front tire. And obviously that's heavily rubbered in. You can see where Ayrton is putting his right front, there's no rubber there, suggesting that no one else is going that far up, getting this unloaded inside front tire heavily onto this curb. That's something we're going to be talking a lot about this weekend with the chicanes. You can see that it's unloaded clearly. It's in the air at this point, obviously after it's made contact. But even before the point at which it's made contact, it is the unloaded inside front tire. And I spoke about this at length in Saudi Arabia, turn 1 and 2. And I was talking about who's using good technique in chicanes, who's not using good technique in chicanes. You won't be surprised to know Ayrton Senna demonstrating some good technique in chicanes. If I can just find a few more shots where I was talking about this in Saudi Arabia. Here was a blurry shot that I took of Lewis Hamilton, not really using all of the curb as I would like him to do, as some of the other drivers I would prefer. You need to get this right front up on the crest of this curb, Lewis. That's the quickest way through turn 1 and 2 Saudi Arabia. Your example is Lando Norris. Beautiful execution through the first and second chicane. I think he had the fastest first sector as well, if I'm not mistaken, in Saudi Arabia race. Here's another shot of Lando, same shot. This is Kimi Antonelli. I've already spoiled it for you guys, but one of my predictions is that Kimi Antonelli is going to go very well this weekend because it's all about chicanes, riding the curbs, compliance with the unloaded inside front, Antonelli's just a master. I think he got pole position in the Miami Sprint due to this fact. He's got the ability to ride chicanes very well. He knows how to make compliant contact with the unloaded inside front. That's everything I know and talk about. This is Oscar Piastri, race winner that weekend, not using it as much. Again, Oscar leaves lap time on the table. We know that already. I think there's plenty of opportunity to get that right front further up here. So I just wanted to call out Lando was doing it well. I think Charles was the other one. Yeah, here's the shot of Charles. He was doing it really well. Slack boy, your comment caught my eye because he's Italian. Absolutely. You're stuck between Imola and Monza, chicane city each and every single time. Here's Charles Leclerc, who I said was doing a good job as well. So I just thought I'd call that out, like with Ayrton, beautiful technique in the Monaco chicane. I think he won that race. Don't quote me, 5, 6, 7, 8 times, something like that. We're heading into Imola, and I've been talking about, or been looking at Ayrton and his crash, and I've been trying to understand what happened. And I've been going over footage, past, present, to see like exactly what happened. I've been listening to people. I've been listening to Adrian Newey. I've been listening to Ron Dennis. I've been listening to Alain Prost, to all these guys who are infinitely closer to the source of the crash than I ever was. Try to understand. Now, the one thing I've come across is very like, I have no idea what happened, but I've come across very conflicting information. Potentially this being a mechanical issue on Ayrton's car that led him to the accident in 1994. But then we have so many other people crashing at that same corner. Surely they also all didn't have mechanical issues. If I can reel them off, crashes, high-speed crashes at the Tamburello corner. Piquet, 1987. Berger, 1989. Michele Alboreto, 1991. Ayrton Senna, 1994. And Ratzenberger's crash down the Villeneuve chicane as well look very similar ilk, like, understeer / lack of front end. Let me show you guys a couple of them. You guys tell me what you think, but I after seeing all this footage, I leaned more towards something being wrong with the track car era combinations. Let's have a look. So we'll bring up PK's because he was 87. Give me a sec. I'll bring it up on the screen in front of you. It'll be this one. Here we go. Oh, so this is PK's crash in 87. Now he's hit the wall with the back of his car. Now the old saying goes, when you hit the wall with the front of your car, it's understeer. When you hit the wall with the back of your car, it's oversteer. I don't know what happened before. This is the only footage that I have of this. But anyway, same corner. He's hit the wall pretty much in the same spot Ayrton did. Berger was next in 89. Let's bring that one up. This is Gerhard Berger's crash. Same corner, same place. More or less, right? This one looks very similar to Ayrton's crash. Again, just the front not. And this is what I'm saying, like these guys and then the fire for good measure. Not good at all. And if we see a slow-mo, it's very, like the car going straight on is telling of this corner. The camera couldn't keep up with it there. Alboreto 1991. Let me show you guys that. That was the next one at Tamburello, the big one. Same sort of thing, like the front wing, like literally the same impact. The front right bang into the wall, like super big. Michele lucky to get out of this one, walks away. There's a slow-mo, I think, of it as well. You see a bunch of sparks and front wing goes missing in that case and ends up straight at the scene of the accident. And then, of course, we've got Ayrton Senna's crash, 1994. This one. It looks bigger. I'll give him that. Poor guy. And then we start to say, well, what happened here? But like with the context of all of the other crashes happening as well, I'm starting to think that there's something with cars and track that's not. I'm starting to think that the front tires are lifting ever so slightly and the guys just can't turn into the corner. But, what do I know about that piece of track? This is not my realm at all. Now you see that little spark just left there. I'll go back as well. Again, I'm not sure if it's telling or not. Little spark that was left just there. You guys should be able to see that as I play it forward. I see the front moving quite a lot. If you guys watch the front of the car, here the front wing. I see that moving up and down quite a lot. So what I'm thinking, and like again, guys, just me thinking out loud here. If I draw it on the screen in front of you, let's say this is the road surface, obviously not being flat, it's a little bit windy, a little bit bumpy, sorry. And the car with the front wing here, as it comes across the bumps, I feel like some air is getting in underneath. And look, again, I can't say this enough. I don't know this, but I feel like the front of the car is moving up and down and air can get in underneath, and it's enough to lift this tire off the ground, and then the steering goes. As in, your front tires are off the ground, you can't steer anymore because the road surface is not uniform. It's a bit dodgy, right? It's a bit bumpy and stuff. So then the car, like you've seen air get in underneath the cars, and then of course that caused cars to flip as well, where they end up like in the air. That's what I think. So the front's getting unloaded. So that basically says no steering column, no rear bottoming out. And I wanted to show you guys what I think of in terms of rear bottoming out. I wanted to talk to that as well, because when I think of rear bottoming out, I think the rear lets go. I'll show you a good example of rear bottoming out. This is Lando Norris's crash in 2023 in Vegas. Now you see the sparks from the car in front. Lando bottoms out here, and it's the rear that is unsettled. He hits the wall with the rear, because what happens when the car bottoms out, the car touches the ground and the rear gets unloaded as the weight unloads. So that's what I would expect in a bottoming out case. So Mr. Alex, supposedly the car bottomed out. This would be my expectation of a car that bottoms out. This is full tank of fuel, by the way, and just bottoms over the same bump as the car in front and hits the wall. So obviously we don't know, but these are my thoughts, is that it's more to do with the front. Now, interesting, Adrian Newey says that, I'll just come back. Adrian Newey, and we'll listen to it now. He says, I think if I quote correctly, he says that it wasn't steering column. Anyway, let's listen to what he has to say and we'll go from there. Interesting. So Ayrton says, Adrian says the car snaps sideways, suggesting oversteer. That's what the data shows. It happened on the lap before. This is Adrian's words, not mine. The data shows a snap of oversteer. It happened on the lap before. Ayrton caught it. I don't know. I'm not seeing any oversteer. I mean, the thing went straight into the wall. I don't know. And Adrian, you know, if anyone knows about what happened, it would be Adrian. But look, I wanted to document my thoughts, share my thoughts with you guys. I still feel like in the front, like loss of, there's been so many cars that have crashed. Again, PK 87, Berger 89, Alboreto 91, Senna 94. But then you've got the crash. I think it was PK's one where he did hit the wall like with an oversteer moment. The other three, Berger, Alboreto, and Senna, went nose in first. Like I say, I thought I'd share that with you guys just to share my thoughts on what it could be. I was thinking about putting together a video on it, but because I'm not sure, I didn't put it together. So I hope you found that interesting, insightful, and food for thought as we go into this weekend. Let's take a look at the weather then. As we've got Barbara local down in on the ground, who said that it was hot. Let's see what Google says. Here we go. So the weather this weekend, I don't know what's hot for you, Barbara, but these are mild temperatures here. So we've got Friday 18, Saturday 21, Sunday 23. This is much cooler than what we've seen pretty much up to this point this year, right? We had high 20s in Miami. We've had Bahrain, obviously. I think Melbourne was warm and then raining. Saudi was obviously hot. So yeah, we're looking at slightly cooler conditions. And we've got the softest compounds in the range this weekend as well. So that will be interesting to see what happens. Now, dry race, thankfully, obviously Imola is a challenge enough in the wet. So I think it's good that it's dry. You saw a big crash between George Russell and Valtteri Bottas down at turn 1 a few years ago. I want to say 2020 or 2021-ish. So yeah, I think it's actually a good thing that it's dry this weekend. So how the cool temperatures interact with the softest compounds is what I'm looking out for, and McLaren's tire advantage. Now, there's been a lot of stuff floating around about phase changing materials and air and brakes and stuff giving McLaren the edge in the long runs. For me, it's like the car's just got heaps of front end grip, and naturally that's just going to look after your front tires more. When Max has got understeer sliding the front, that understeer overheats the fronts, and that overheating of the fronts leads to more understeer, and that just snowballs. So it's like if you can solve for the front end grip, which McLaren have done, you're not going to have as much front tire wear issues. I mean, that's just phase changing materials and water and air and everything aside. Now, if we're talking about the rears, I don't think that it's that critical to lap time as much as front end. I think front end is the holy grail of lower lap time. What do we got here? Wazy, cooler conditions bring Max back into the race again. Like, I don't think so. I don't think that it's that. I think that what people are doing is focusing on the McLaren's tire life without highlighting how much front end grip and downforce and performance the car actually has. And it's like, well, it's not necessarily the condition. Like, I'm not sure if I'm explaining myself properly, but it's not necessarily the conditions. The McLaren's still going to have good downforce, still going to have good grip, it's still going to have good tire wear, it's still going to have good front end, it's still going to have good traction, regardless of the conditions. So I just wanted to highlight to you guys, don't get too caught up in this whole McLaren longevity. They're putting the car on pole. Okay, Max's excellence is there as well. But McLaren have got the car for pole. It's just the drivers are under delivering. And the gap in races much bigger, but that's natural when the fuel goes in the car and you go on hard compound. And McLaren have got the downforce to be able to work with it. So Max says here that the RB21 prefers cold temperatures for the tires to stay in the window. Okay, well, let's see. I still think it'll be more of the same, as in Max competing for pole and McLaren still super quick. But let's see how we go. Okay, now this is a big piece of this live stream, guys, coming up. Driver's mentality and who needs to do what. The first piece that I wanted to touch on, you won't be surprised to know, is the question that got asked during the week with the Sky Sports F1 podcast, does Max Verstappen race Oscar Piastri differently to Lando Norris? As soon as I hear that question, my initial instinct is no. Why would he? Max is Max. Max is champion mentality. Max will not change, adapt, compromise, alter anything for anyone. And so to hear Brundle say that, yeah, absolutely, with 100% certainty, Max has had to change his style for Oscar, I think does Max a disservice and is disrespectful to Max in some ways, in the sense that it's suggesting that Oscar is so good that Max has had to change. I don't see it. Now, Brundle went on to answer the question to say that there's something more Street Fighter about Oscar and he knows that he has to consider Oscar in a different way. Maybe. But the question was, does Max race Oscar Piastri differently to Lando Norris? And I think what you're seeing is the way Oscar Piastri attacks Max Verstappen is very differently to the way Lando Norris attacks Max Verstappen. Lando, each and every single time attacking around the outside, gets thrown off. We have to bring up the rule book and who's first at the apex and all this stuff. Oscar doesn't do that. Oscar does not attack and try his luck and chances around the outside and put his car in a difficult situation in which he could be thrown off. Exactly, this is the point where he's here. Does he mean that he can bully Lando more around than Oscar? Yeah, but Lando's on the outside. If it's Lando on the outside, Schumacher on the outside, Oscar on the outside, Max will throw you off. It doesn't matter who it is. If it's Ayrton Senna on the outside, Max will throw you off. And that's the difference, because Lando's attacking around the outside. Everyone sees Lando get thrown off, but Oscar not get thrown off. They're not looking at the way the drivers are attacking Max. And I think that's a massive oversight. And I was talking to my girlfriend just before, saying I made this channel so that I could debunk and get rid of all this crap and a lot of misinformation floating around our sport. And even if you ask Max Verstappen and he said, yeah, I change a few bits and pieces for different, yeah, right. Like, I'm looking at the reality of what's happening on the racetrack. Max locked up into turn one, lap one against Lando Norris. That was Lando's key opportunity to take the lead and win that race. He did not, because he was half in two minds about attacking around the outside, or he didn't get a nice sweep into turn one. Lando actually missed turn one by quite a bit. He didn't successfully cut underneath Max and do a good switchback and take the lead. So what I'm saying is Max locked up turn one, lap one against Lando Norris. Max locked up turn one, lap 14 against Oscar Piastri. It's the exact same thing. And in Max's mind, if he's racing Oscar Piastri, he will pull to the inside. If you're racing Lando Norris, you should pull to the inside. If you're racing Michael Schumacher, you should pull to the inside. If you're Max Verstappen and you're racing Ayrton Senna, you should pull to the inside. And Max will just always do that regardless of who he's racing. And it's the exact same in reverse. If you're Oscar Piastri and you're racing Max Verstappen, you should fight and compete for the inside. If you're Lando Norris and you're racing Max Verstappen, you should fight and compete for the inside. If you're Ayrton Senna and you were racing Max Verstappen in some other world, you should fight and compete for the inside. So it's the exact same thing. And I don't get where Brundle's coming from. He finishes by saying Lando's racecraft can't be criticized. I think Lando's racecraft is one of his biggest weaknesses, in line with his mentality, of course. And I always speak on this channel about the 4 pillars of driver preparation: mental, physical, tactical, and technical. Lando's only really holding the technical card. Okay, maybe the physical card as well. But in terms of tactically, racecraft, starts, attack, defense, restarts, yellow flags, Lando's quite weak. And mentally as well, you don't need to hear it from me. Lando's not got the best mentality either. So the reason you're seeing a difference, Oscar gets good starts. Oscar got up the inside of Max into turn one in Jeddah. That's something that Lando's, like, his starts are not great. He lost the lead in Netherlands last year. He lost the lead in Hungary last year. He lost the lead in Spain like, we can go on. It's two very different McLarens racing Max. And Max is not racing them differently per se. He's applying the same things. It's just that McLarens are coming at it from very different angles. I wanted to play with you what Brundle said. And now with that context in mind, that Max will just always pull to the inside, always cover the inside and throw you off if you're on the outside. And he'll just do the exact same things in order to defend his position, which he should do. Secondary to that, I also think champion mentality is not adjustment for anyone. Champion mentality is like, this is how I'm going racing. You take it or leave it. We crash or we don't crash. And that's just the way it is, because it's always going to be on my terms. Again, I don't think Brundle fully captured the champion mentality. Let me play it for you guys now and you tell me what you think.
I've got a real doozy of a question for you, Martin. Does Max race Oscar differently than he races Lando?
100%. Yes,
in what way?
Unquestionably.
In what way?
I think he knows. He knows that there's something a bit more Street Fighter about Oscar Piastri, and he saw it, in Jeddah. I think Max knows he's got a different animal when Oscar's in his mirrors, not by much than Lando, just positioning of the car. There's a decisiveness about what he did that. But you can't criticize Lando's racecraft, because the way he passed the Mercedes and eventually passed Max was just top draw, in particular. But somehow, I have absolutely no doubt that, and just words he says as well, that Max realizes Oscar's a different deal in wheel-to-wheel combat.
Guys, I have to play that again because it did my head in. Can you bear with me?
I've got a real doozy of a question for you, Martin. Does Max race Oscar differently than he races Lando?
100%. Yes,
in what way?
Unquestionably.
In what way?
I think he knows. He knows that there's something a bit more Street Fighter about Oscar Piastri.
He knows that there's something more Street Fighter about Oscar Piastri. That's fine. Does Max Verstappen race Oscar differently to Lando? The answer is still no, regardless of what Max knows, thinks, feels, or otherwise.
And he saw it, in Jeddah.
In Jeddah, Oscar got a good start and got up the inside. I probably come down hard on Max for not shooting across to the inside, but he hasn't done that with anyone this year. So Oscar got a good start there. That's not Max racing anyone differently to anyone. Max still hung on to that corner just the same as he would have if he was attacking or defending, like you saw with Lewis. Max is always hanging on to corners, like trying to. This is Max. He went off the track and everything. Like, what's different about that?
I think Max knows he's got a different animal.
Again, Brundle talking about what Max knows. Does Max race Oscar differently to Lando? No.
When Oscar's in his mirrors, not by much than Lando, just positioning of the car. There's a decisiveness about what he did that. But you.
I can't listen to it anymore, guys. It doesn't make any sense. Now, people are not silly either. Let me bring up a couple of comments on the on that Sky Sports F1 podcasting, YouTube, whatever, to show you guys that people are actually paying attention as well. So hopefully you can see this on the screen in front of you. This is my comment. Brundle, Lando's racecraft can't be criticized. Lando's racecraft is his biggest weakness. A lot of comments below supporting. One guy said, Mika Hakkinen said this last year, never try to take Max on the outside. No one was listening. Yeah, good comment. I was listening. That's why my subscribers know what's going on. The next one, didn't realize Lando had racecraft, if I'm being honest. Another one suggesting that Lando doesn't have any racecraft. Maybe Brundle has a different definition of racecraft. Again, so that's, and let me show you guys some of the comments about from some of the other people. Just more general comments. The top like comment here on this YouTube video, Sky Sports F1, Brundle saying Max races Oscar differently to Lando. From Solanki Iti whatever, you've got it the other way around. Actually, it's Oscar who is racing Max differently and much better than Lando Norris. Yeah, touche. Bravo. Good comment. Couldn't have got a better comparison than this race. Yeah, 100%. Well said. Agree. It's Oscar who's not naive or silly enough to overtake around the outside and get thrown off. Oscar won't put his car there. I don't know why that's so hard to visualize. The next comment, I absolutely love the verbal gymnastics Martin is doing in order to avoid criticizing Lando, suggesting potentially some British bias. The next comment, does Max race Oscar differently to Lando? No, it's just that Lando and Oscar race Max differently. Yep. Next one, difference between Lando and Oscar is patience and calculated moves. Correct. Oscar took a few laps to see where Max would defend and adjusted accordingly. Lando, on the other hand, just sticks a nose into the approaching corner and thinks that's all it takes to claim the corner. Yep. Well said. So, Wheezy, your comment is still on the screen here. Did he mean more so that he can bully Lando around? Yeah, but have a look, read here. There's a difference in the way the McLaren drivers go racing, a massive difference. And so Max doesn't have to, he actually can't throw Oscar off the track because Oscar's not attacking around the outside. Oscar's either planning a move up the inside or just sitting back, not attacking at all. So Oscar's not putting his car in a position where he can look silly per se. So I wanted to just call that out, guys. It's total misinformation from Brundle. If I show you guys as well, this is turn one, lap one. Let me just bring your comment down for a sec, Wazy. I feel like I'm doing my job here, guys, because I need to like sort this out. This is turn one, lap one. This is Max and Lando. Look at the smoke coming off Max. He's locked up. If you see a few slides later, Max runs very deep into this corner. He misses the corner completely. But what I want you to focus on here is Lando's also missed the corner. Oscar Piastri is the only one out of the top four that made this corner. That's Oscar there hitting the apex. Now, what I want you to focus on is the difference between Max and Oscar. Have a look at this gap here. Quite a big gap. Oscar's like fourth here. And if I go next shot, because Oscar's the only one that hit the apex, look at the ground he's made up on the rest of them. He's actually side by side, not side by side, but he's much closer to Lando now and almost could have a look at an attack of his own. If Lando had just made the corner like here, if Lando could have just turned this McLaren into the corner, he would have taken the lead. He messed it up. This, for me, I'm not questioning this. I'm clear as day on this because I can see it. This is Lando getting caught up a little bit behind Max. Here's a better shot of it. This is the extent to which Max missed the corner at turn 1, and Lando also missed the corner at turn 1, failed to turn in and meet the apex, do a successful switchback. Again, Oscar, the only one of the top 4 that actually met with the apex. Here's the onboard. I don't want to get in trouble for this. And here's the one with Piastri. When he sees Max lock up here, Oscar's only focus is to stop the car because he knows that you're not going to go around. Max is shooting deep. There's absolutely no chance Oscar will go around. So he needs to stop the car super quick. So straighten the steering wheel, downshift quickly, brake hard, stop the car quickly, and one smooth sweeping arc of the steering cut underneath Max. That's what he does, and he gets the lead into turn 1. This is one smooth. He nearly clipped his front wing there. So good judgment by Oscar to take the lead there. And here's another slow-mo of it. I hope I don't get in trouble for this. Yeah, here's the start. Sorry, this is where Oscar made up so much ground just because he met with the apex. So I think we spent enough time on that topic, but I just wanted to show you guys I'm clear as day on this. Like I'm not mucking around here, guys. Yeah, Max is just in Lando's, so we say Max is just in Lando's head, I think you mean. Yeah. Tanya, don't start on Mr. Bundle, Mr. Laptime. He already has fixed on his case. That guy is wild. Look, but I should have said at the very start, I respect Brundle, legend, right? Great commentator, value and knowledge for days. He's been on F1 for 20 or 30 years. Not everything he says is going to be bang on. That's why this channel exists. I feel like Max's mentality is, I'm a champion. I'm winning. I'm not changing for anyone. Oh, your name's Oscar Piastri? Good luck to you. Your name's Sir Lewis Carl, whatever? Good luck to you. Your name's Land? Good luck to you. I don't care. This is how I'm racing. You take it or leave it. And I went on to say in one of my shorts as well, on TikTok / Instagram, YouTube shorts as well, Martin raced against Ayrton Senna. He should know the uncompromising nature / mentality of these champions. They don't give a fudge. They don't give a fudge. Okay, one other thing on champion mentality. I know this section's gone on for a bit, but we'll skim through the rest of it. Have a go at this for champion mentality. Max rocks up to the track in Miami and says, you see this, guys? 4-time champion, 7-time champion, first into the track. And I just thought, yeah, that's it. That's champion mentality. Let me show it to you guys now. Hopefully you can see it on the screen in front of you.
See that, by the way? What? 7-time world champion, 4-time world champion, first hit.
I thought that was cool. Let me play it again.
See that, by the way? What? 7-time world champion, 4-time world champion, first hit.
He's so proud of the fact that he and Lewis were first in, and Lewis is a 7-time champion. Max is a 4, and that was early morning in Miami, and he was first into the racetrack. Suggesting, therefore, that hard work, nurture is more important than nature. Hard work beats talent each and every single time. I thought because we're in the driver's mentality piece, we've spent a bit of time on Max, how he takes Lando, Oscar, Max's mentality first into the track. Obviously, Lewis is working hard as well. The other person's mentality that I want to talk to, if you're from Buenos Aires, leave a comment in the chat. Si eres de Buenos Aires, mándame una pregunta o comentaria en el chat. Franco, what does Franco need to do? We're starting to get onto the Imola GP now because I had to clean up a few things. Sorry, guys, bear with me. Rob Smedley on the F1 Nation podcast, he's like, you can't blame a rookie for being a rookie. You can't blame them for not knowing what they don't know. These guys are coming in like Kimi Antonelli, 18 years of age. They're teenagers, as near as makes no difference. 18, 19, 20, 21, 22-year-olds. They just don't have the level of knowledge to be able to know like, oh, this is how it's done, the entry curb in chicanes. This is how you build a weekend in Monaco. This is good racecraft. This is good attack. This is good defense. This is what a good strategy looks like. They've been so focused on F3, F2, karting, whatever. They actually haven't popped their head up and had a look at how F1 actually works. So I've always said that I feel like I've got an advantage in the fact that I've got all the monitors and I can see everything and I can put together these frameworks and technical corners and things like I can do. These guys are out racing. It's very hard to study the sport when you're actively doing the sport, flying around, if that makes sense. So anyway, Smedley on Franco, he says like any injection of experience, wisdom, elderly, like any injection you can give to Franco to stop him making mistakes would be massively welcome. Now, I was saying this in his Williams days when Franco raced last year, 2024 for Williams. I was saying like he's walking into a difficult part of the calendar. He's walking into night races. He's walking into street races. He's walking into sprint races. He's walking into rain races. If Franco like doesn't know what he doesn't know, he's just like, it just doesn't know. So again, you can't blame him for that. Where I laid blame at that time was his existing driver coach, Lucas Benamo. Again, with respect, I haven't met the guy. I'm sure he's a nice guy. And James Vowles, again, with respect, I haven't met these guys. But how can you lay blame on Franco for the crashes? He just got thrown into the car halfway through the season. It's the experienced team personnel that should know better. Like, okay, Franco, join the team and here's who you're going to be working with. Not necessarily your race engineer. Okay, I think Franco had a good race engineer, actually. Not necessarily just an experienced race engineer, but driver coach and mentor, mental help, address the physical, mental, technical, and tactical when you put a Franco into the car, right? And I hope that Alpine have learnt and done that this time as well. Anyway, have a listen to Rob Smedley. Oh, by the way, just context. If you don't know who Rob Smedley is, ex-Ferrari race engineer for Felipe Massa, one of the best ones to ever do it. I like Rob. Have a listen.
And then suddenly the accidents started to come, didn't they, later in the year? I feel he's got unfinished business. And funnily enough, Rob, he could do with an experienced race engineer like yourself, just guiding him through these next moments, couldn't he?
Yeah, that is what I think rookies benefit from more than anything, is having people close to them in their inner circle, if you like. And one of those key figures is the race engineer, but can also guide them through the bits that they don't know, because you can't blame a rookie for not knowing what they don't know, right? It's just part of life. So I think that having an experienced team around them is going to be is of paramount importance to be able to get this right. It can completely change like how the team has to work, because the team is now having to kind of tidy up the mistakes, or even be proactively thinking about what mistakes the rookie's going to make and how you can, mitigate for them. And that's why the performance is not always there between the rookie and the experienced driver. So yeah, any kind of injection of experience, injection of like mitigation for the mistakes that are going to happen, that's going to be absolutely key to getting Franco up to speed in these races.
Any injection, what did you say at the end there?
The experienced driver. So yeah, any kind of injection of experience, injection of like mitigation for the mistakes that are going to happen, that's going to be absolutely key to getting Franco up to speed in these races.
Any injection of experience or mitigation for risk is going to be key for getting Franco up to speed in these races. Whether or not he has that in his corner, not sure. I hope and pray for him and Argentina. Now, I tried to be this role last year because, again, to be honest, I feel sorry for Franco. Like, he got thrown in with no one decent in his corner. So that's why I put out these videos, right? One of the ones you would have seen recently on YouTube was this one. Lower lap times focus areas for Franco Colapinto. He just needs to do this. If he can tick the bottom focus area, like, I think he'll go well. And I just wanted to run you through them because we're in the driver's mentality section / who needs to do what. Emilia Romagna, chicanes. If Franco can just focus on chicanes, and I'm talking about going into detail here. If this was a tennis match, like, let me give you a bit of context for the 7 technical corners. I've got 7 technical corners, which I swear by, which always hold true, which means you can focus on that thing. They are chicanes, hairpins, S's, double apex corners, and then the 3 long corners, constant radius, increasing radius, and decreasing radius. And at any given time, you're going to need to play these shots as you come across them. Now, I liken it to the tennis shots in tennis. You got your forehand. These are key shots, by the way, you need to be able to master. Your forehand, your backhand, your volley, your slice, your serve, your overhead, and drop shot. Like, you've got 7 or 8 shots as well, maybe more because I'm not that familiar with them all in tennis. This is very important. So when we talk about chicanes, it's not like, okay, you're just hitting forehands. No. Hit good forehands, Franco. Like, understand what it means to hit a nice forehand or a nice backhand. Like, you spend time on dedicate time to that shot. And that's what my 7 technical corners and frameworks can help with. So I'm talking about chicanes here. Now, we spoke about this earlier in the live stream. Remember the Ayrton Senna picture? Remember we spoke about the way Ayrton was using parts of the track that other drivers weren't using? Do you need me to go back and remind you? If you're just joining the live stream, let me bring it up. Give me a sec. Senna chicanes. Here it is. It's all here. This is what Franco needs to do if you tuned into the first part of this live stream. This is quality technique in chicanes, guys. We're talking about Imola now and how to take chicanes. Ayrton using parts of the racetrack that no other driver is using. How do you know that? Look at the rubber here. Look where other drivers are putting their unloaded right inside front. Look where Ayrton's putting his. How unloaded is it? Very unloaded. It's in the air almost at this point. You can also see the negative camber. You see how there's more space here than there is here. You can see the negative camber. There's a lot you can get from this. This is the way I want Franco to look at these corners. Apparently he's good at Imola. I'm not sure. We'll see. He's won a few times or whatever. But this is a 7-time champion not taking chicanes with good technique. This is the race winner, Oscar Piastri, not taking chicanes with good technique. So it's not to say that like everyone knows how to do this, right? Now, the guys I saw doing this really well were Lando Norris, beautiful, happy with this. Charles Leclerc, lovely, happy with this. Kimi Antonelli was the other one. That's George. Kimi Antonelli, beautiful, happy with this. Have a look at his glove. Look at the steering work that's going on here. This is lovely. So I created that picture for Franco to try to demonstrate, like, not chicanes that the track has a lot of chicanes or something. It's like, this is what you need to study. You need, like, there's some work that needs to be done here. There's taking chicanes and there's taking chicanes. Like, there's hitting forehands and there's hitting forehands. You know, you can hit a forehand like me, or you can hit a forehand as gracefully as Roger hits one, right? So you can take chicanes nicely, like Senna, like Leclerc, like Lando, or you can take them clumsily, like I saw Oscar, Lewis, George take them. I want Franco to take them well. So I'm trying to get, he's not seeing these videos, but I'm trying to highlight to you guys that dedication to the corner and how to take them. Why? Because you've got a lot of chicanes here. If I just flick over to the whiteboard for a second and show you guys how many we have. And again, we'll get onto the track in a second. Yeah, they're here. Tamburello chicane, Villeneuve chicane, Variante Alta chicane. There's 3, a hairpin, and that's it. So if you can nail chicanes, you're good. I'm going to talk about this, the run onto the straight as well, which is very important. But like, if you can just do those corners well, like and not make mistakes in Aquaman Rally, you're set. Like, that's all you got to do. So where are we? So chicane. So now Monaco's next. Not next, but after Imola. Street circuit rule. Build yourself a weekend. This is everything he failed to do in Baku last year, Vegas last year as well. He didn't build himself a weekend on solid foundations. If you guys haven't seen the video, I recommend you go check it out. It's like what Franco needs to do in the next 5 races, something like that. It's on my channel. And I speak about what does a street circuit rule mean? How do you build confidence through a weekend, and why is it so important? Spain, you're talking about different set of technical corners. I think that your traction in long corners is very important. So that's important because it takes you down a different setup direction. You're focused on traction. You're not necessarily focused on front end or braking stability or tire life, or like, you're focused on traction because, again, the framework of the 7 technical corners I think is helpful. Increasing radius, turn 4, turn 10, turn 11, constant radius, turn 12 as well. So these are the corners where if you can just get your foot down a little bit quicker, get the steering wheel straighter, short shift your way out, map in a throttle mapping that allows you to get out of the corner, it's going to help you in Spain. You don't need that. You don't need to know how to take chicanes in Spain, but you do in Canada. Canada's all chicanes, back to chicanes again. So I want Franco to be like switched on. I don't know if he's got right people in his corner helping him with this. Austria, elevation braking / braking tools. You're braking uphill in turn 1 and turn 3, but then you're braking downhill in turn 4. What does that mean for the brake migration, the brake shape, the brake balance, your brake pressure, your trail braking, But what does that mean for your engine braking, how you click your downshifts? All of these 5, 6, 7 braking tools have got to be in line for the uphill braking at turn 1 and turn 3, and then changed completely for the downhill braking at turn 4. That's Austria's only like an 8-corner track, most of which is full throttle. If you're not leveraging these tools, remember F1 is a story told in tenths, no hundredths, no thousandths of a second. If you're not leveraging these tools, this is the difference between qualifying P4 and P14. So I want Franco to switch on there and learn how to optimize those tools. Firstly, learn what to do with them. Secondly, make sure he's actually doing them and he can do them intuitively on the Alpine F1 steering wheel. Okay, that was the driver's mentality section. So sorry that took a while, but we will try to buzz through the rest of it. So track, car, and regs updates. I think there's no track updates. There's no reg updates. We spoke about that overtaking rule that got brought into the guidelines last week, I think. Red Bull have a new side pod. I think Mercedes and Ferrari have got updates as well. So everyone seems to be bringing a decent sized update package to this weekend. So that's all I really need to say on it. Let's jump over to the track map now, and I'm going to walk you guys through the Imola circuit and tell you everything I know about it. Here we go. Lovely. It's one of my second favorite tracks. Hopefully you can see that on the screen in front of you. Second favorite track, followed by Monaco. I'll show you guys my helmet come the Monaco weekend that's behind me. It's got a nice picture of Monaco painted behind on the back of it. But this is my second favorite track. Now, again, chicane. So why is chicane so important? Well, let's have a look at the Tamburello chicane, the first one. By the way, Barbara, this is where Ayrton's memorial, you'll find it somewhere over here and after the Tamburello chicane somewhere. So if you get a chance, Barbara's sitting over here, guys, in the Acqua Minerale Park. I assume you're over here somewhere, Barbara, on the outside of Acqua Minerale. So what would be nice, I reckon, is if you could get a nice head-on shot into the braking into Acqua Minerale would be nice, because you'll see who's using most of the entry track available here. Or if you can see here, you'll get a good shot of the traction heading up to 13 as well. Would be nice to see. Okay. Tamburello chicane. Let me draw it out for you guys. I'm not the best drawer. Sorry. It's something like that. What I want to highlight to you guys is the curbs, which are really important in this chicane. In all chicanes, by the way. And there's a curb here as well, I think, and an exit one down here. So what's super important is good compliance, good ride, good contact with the curbs. What you don't want to do is go around this chicane like a banana and just take the long way around. No. What you want to do, if I draw it in blue, is like hook into the curbs as much as possible. Straight line this chicane as much as possible. I drew that really bad. But you want to just straight line as much as possible. The blue line is much more effective, much quicker than the green line. But the key to it is how you ride the curbs, the way the car setup, how you connect in with the first entry curb with the unloaded inside front. Do you connect in with the second one? Can you get the steering quickly switched across, or is it better to avoid that one? These are the things I'd like for Franco to be playing with. Again, guys, this is why your track walk is very important, right? This is you. Franco Colapinto, walking the track, looking this way, right? Now, smart Franco Colapinto will be eyes here on the curb, looking, thinking, can I use this curb? Is it flat enough? To which extent? Referring back to the Senna shot, referring back to the shots in Saudi Arabia, trying to understand to which extent I can use this curb. Now, most of them, they got their cell phone out. They're posting a story to Instagram that says track walk. Hashtag ready. Right? Don't do this. Don't be a dum-dum. Right? This Instagram story is not going to help you. You're here. You need to be paying attention here to the entry curb, the first entry curb into the Tamburello chicane. That's the most important thing if you're on your track walk. So you can get a lot of information on your track walk. And what I would encourage you to do is get on your stomach and have a look down. And because you'd be surprised at what you can see at that level when you're on your stomach looking at the curb, you get a different perspective. Maybe it's higher than you thought it was. Maybe it's got a different gradient. Maybe it's flatter. Maybe you notice something about the paint or the shape of it that gives you a bit of an insight. The lap, mate, the holy grail of lower lap time will be won and lost in these, like the first sector is here. It's all here. So like you can't just walk through here with your little drink bottle and think that you're all good. Like you've got to really, again, there's forehands and there's forehands. There's me and there's Roger, and like one forehand is better than the other. So one chicane is better than the other. I really want the guys to pay attention to the Tamburello chicane. Now, as you walk down a little bit further, you've got the Villeneuve chicane, exactly the same thing. You're presented with a first entry curb, a set of curbs, a chicane. It's the same stuff, same technique has to apply. It's faster, but that's not to say that you don't want to play around with this entry curb. If you can successfully get on top of this entry curb in the Villeneuve chicane, it makes life so much easier for you to get your foot down and carry speed on the exit of the Villeneuve chicane. Really important corner. The faster you go, the more downforce you have, the more grip you have. So again, you're here, your eyes have got to be on this chicane. This is you, right? This is Franco. Pay attention here, my friend. Look at this curb, understand it inside out, and then walk down and look at that curb. As you walk down and look past, you're here. Look back at the chicane. What do you see? Stand across to the side and have a look. Do you see any sort of dips or crests or any changes that, like how smooth is the track? Like get a good shot of these curbs because you're going to be coming through here at about 300 kilometers per hour. You're not going to have much time to be able to fully understand. Yeah, you can try them. And I would encourage that as well. Like going back to the Tamburello chicane. Yeah, play around, like try them gently first and play around with them and try different lines. As we get onto the Tosa hairpin, this is where we're really going to start to talk about different lines. I want to show you guys this hairpin. This is the next corner. Let me get rid of all this rubbish, move this across. Okay, so the Tosa hairpin is the next one. We're up here. So if I just draw this out, the reason it's so important is because you've just come out of the Villeneuve chicane, guys. So you've got options. The tight line is a thing. So your options are, you come out of the Villeneuve chicane and you pretty much find yourself here on the far left-hand side of the track. So your options are, number one, drive the tight line. Number two, bring the car as far across to the outside and drive a more conventional / geometric line. Or number three, there is a third option. You drive the tight line, but with a bit of a short corner as well. Again, this is what your practice session is for. It's not always just for the engineers to try to work out the fuel rates and the tire degs. And like if you're Franco here, and I'm just speaking to Franco because I think there's an opportunity here for him. He needs to play around with this. I would be taking one of the green / blue lines just to get into the corner a bit earlier. Look after the front right tire a little bit better. You're going to need it, particularly when you come through a fast left-hander straight after, such as Piratella. So there's opportunity to look after the right front a little bit more. The red one does a little bit more work. Maybe you use that one in qualifying though, because C6 compound tire, you can carry more speed and, you know, who cares about the longevity of the tire? So I don't know the correct one / fastest one at the moment on this track, but there's nothing stopping you from, say, hitting a few forehands like the blue one, and then a few more laps like the red one, and then a few more laps like the green one. You'll quickly get a feel for, you'll quickly be able to, okay, it's not the green one. It's not the red one either. You'll quickly be able to work out like, I'm going to be taking the blue one, for example, and then just doubling down on that and practicing that and starting to hit that line each and every single time and getting familiar with that. So very important corner. I'm going to be watching out for that this weekend. Who plays with the lines into there, or who's not curious, right? Curiosity. I've been listening to a few podcasts recently and they're all saying like, what's one of the biggest traits of high performers? What's something high performers have that others don't have? And it's like, it's curiosity and humility. It's just like, I don't know the quickest line into Tosa. Let me try a bunch. Let me try a few short corners. Let me try a few tight lines. Let me try a few different entries. Remember, you're exiting the Villeneuve chicane from here. So that's the problem. Do you come across all the way and then go into Tosa? Or do you just turn in with a slightly shallower entry? Or do you do the short corner, do a bit of a V and come out like that? Mr. Alex, your question caught my eye. Does this track lend itself to V driving? Only in the Tosa corner. That's it. That's the only one. So the one we're talking about here. There's nothing you can do in the chicanes in terms of V/short corner driving. But that's it. Tosa is the only one. It's borderline long corner constant radius /hairpin, this one. So you're talking, actually, I'll put it in the category of long corner constant radius because we're talking about playing around with lines. So this here is a long corner of constant radius. So yes, you can play with your lines in such a corner. In a chicane, no. In a hairpin, typically no either. The difference between chicane and hairpin looks like this. It comes to such a sharp point that it's just like stop the car, rotate the car and drive out. Like you can't play around with lines so much. But because this corner has got a bit of length to it, you see it looks sufficiently long, then yes. This corner, yes. Okay. Piratella. Now, really interesting. You start to come uphill a lot here. One tip I can give is that in qualifying, don't shift at the ideal RPM or the time you think. As you come up here, rev the gears out a little bit more. You need that pull up this hill, up towards Piratella. It's very important. And you need a lot of engine braking through Piratella as well. It's a really fast, like 1 gear or 2 gears, flick the car in and get on throttle as quickly as possible. So the most progressive / consistent way to get braking into Piratella is engine braking. The brake pedal is a bit too abrupt. If you push the brake pedal and then you shoot forward like quite a lot, it's too much of a jolt for the car. Unless you it's not required so much for Piratella. Yes, you're going to be pushing the brakes, but it has to be super soft. Combined with an aggressive pull of the downshift, I think gives you just a more stable platform from which to turn into Piratella. Again, it's a high-speed left-hander over a hill, and you want to pin the throttle as quickly. Now you start to go downhill. The opposite is true. Short shift a bit earlier. There's no point revving out the gears when you can, when you're going downhill, you're building speed so quickly. So this Piratella is like on the top of a hill here. So short shift a bit. Now change your technique. As you turn into Aqua Minerale, again, you're turning and braking at the same time here. This is the biggest challenge in Aqua Minerale. Really easy to lock up the unloaded inside front tire. If I just draw the car like coming in that direction and what the 4 tires are doing, you're turning and braking at the same time. So this one, the right front, the unloaded inside front, easy to brake. So again, same rules apply. Brake gently, brake softly, brake progressively, brake balance a little bit rearwards, smash the downshifts quite a lot, and just float the car, not braking or on throttle. In the mid corner in Aqua Minerale is very important because it starts to go down into that crest, but then it starts to pop over this hill, and you always have traction issues on the exit of Aqua Minerale. So it's important that the car's not doing anything like it's really settled as you head uphill into Aqua Minerale. Again, you're heading uphill now. So again, rev the gears out up, like I'm talking about just between 12 and 13. Rev the gears quite a lot so you can pull the car quickly. This is not something you'd want to do in the race. I'm talking about pure performance here, pure lower lap time in qualifying. Yeah, rev the gears out as you head back uphill. And then you're heading back downhill here towards Ravazza so you can short shift. You've got downhill braking 16 and 17. Again, I spoke about this in Austria. Downhill braking, what has to change with the brake shape, with your brake balance, with your brake migration, with your engine braking, with your trail braking, with your brake pressure. There's 6 or 7 things you just need to be aware of. So when you're braking downhill, you're like, it's more progressive, it's more engine braking. Maybe I'll migrate rearwards as this corner unfolds. I'm getting ahead of myself because I love this corner. Variante Alta, okay, back to chicanes. So back to the curbs. And to be honest here, like this is a risky corner. This would be one of the most risky corners on the track. Variante Alta, I'm here now, sorry. My head went to the downhill braking down here in Ravazza, but I'm here now. Variante Alta, chicane, like there is lap time here, but I just think it's dangerous as well. So I'd be saying to my driver, like, just go through cleanly. Go through cleanly. Don't try to be Superman, superhero through here. Go through cleanly, because let other drivers make the mistake in Variante Alta. It's such a tight, twisty, aggressive curbs. It's rough. Like, yes, there's lap time here, but there's risky, very risky corner. So I'm always like, just be clean, just be smooth, get a good exit, happy days. Like, just tick this one off. I don't want to see mistakes in Variante Alta, because it's just not worth it. I'd rather you go all in the Tamburello chicane, knowing that you've got the downforce, you've got the grip, you've studied it on the track walk, knowing Piratella with the techniques, with the lift and the engine brake. I'd rather you go after this side of the racetrack than necessarily Variante Alta. You saw Charles Leclerc have an accident here, I think in 23 or 24, if I'm not mistaken. There's been accidents through here, and just not even accidents, but big moments and slides as well. And if you do that in the race, you'll be under attack down into Ravazza. Ravazza, I love this corner. Let me get rid of some of my drawings here so we can just focus on Ravazza. Not a double apex. Why is it not a double apex, even though there's two apexes a square? The reason it's not a double apex is because there's sufficient time between 17 and 18 for you to get the steering wheel straight here. So a double apex would look same shape, but there's not enough time for you to straighten the steering wheel. So you have to go around like that. Ravazza 1 and 2, there is enough time for you to get the steering wheel straight before you stick it into Ravazza, the second part of Ravazza 2. So it's not a double apex, and it is, like I said before, heavily downhill braking here. So EB, engine braking, has to go up. Migration, maybe you want to think about migrating gently towards the rear. As the corner unfolds and you start to turn into the first part of Ravazza, you want to brake softly and progressively. And I think the most important thing, as I've spelt progressively wrong, you want to brake progressively. I think the most important thing is how you pull back with the gears. And the timing of your downshifts is very important. Is it brake and then do, or is it like do? You know, the timing of those gears is very important. Not only the separation between them, like how quickly you go 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, or does it go 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3? Like, you need to really work out. I think because the braking, generally speaking, it's quick initially. You've got high speed, high downforce. You can pull back very quickly. I'd encourage to get all of the gears done very early on and just leave that last one just for a fraction of a second just before you turn into 17. So if you're doing 5 downshifts, it would be the 4 happen very quickly and then maybe the last one save it, or try all 5 very quickly as well. Again, like curiosity at each and every single juncture, right? I want the drivers to play with these sort of things. That's going to be the difference between good and great at the moment. Now, Ravazza 2, because you can get the steering wheel straight, it's all about the lift. Now, a very important thing happens here between 17 and 18 in Ravazza 1 and Ravazza 2. It's generally between gears. So what I mean by that is it could be on the approach to 18, 4th at high revs, or you'd be tempted to shift up maybe to 5th before. I'm not sure if it's 4th or 5th or 5th and 6th, but you're tempted to make a shift. If I just draw where that would be, it's kind of across there. You're tempted to make a shift. And I would always say, do not make that shift. Even though it would be quicker up to the entry point of Ravazza 2, like the car's asking for another gear in Ravazza 2, I would always be saying, do not make that shift. The reason you don't want to make that shift is what you're going to go for in Ravazza 2 is a big lift. And I feel like having the extra revs in the car, when you do the big lift for Ravazza 2, it pulls the car back really nicely. Whereas if you do it from a low RPM in a higher gear and you make that big lift, the car doesn't have the same sort of retardation, the same sort of pullback with the lift. So the lift is very important into 18 Ravazza. You want the car to really pull back a lot. Again, it's not dissimilar to Piratella. You don't want to use much braking at all. It's all about the engine braking there. If you'll allow me, I want to browse the telemetry and see, because we can see the throttle. I want to see what the guys are doing in such a corner. So if you give me a sec, I'll bring up the telemetry and we'll have a look together. But I feel like that's the best way around. Is just make sure there's a healthy amount of revs in the car before Ravazza 2, such that you can get a good healthy retardation when you get out of the throttle. Really important, because I want that as opposed to pushing the brakes too hard, which again, it's going to jolt the car forward, and I don't want that. I just want to fly through. I just want to float through the second part of Ravazza without trouble and nail the throttle on the exit. That's all I'm interested in. So let me share this. Let me share this on the screen in front of you. All right, can you guys see that? Let me just bring down the comments. Okay, so where are we? Did they go? All right, here we go. So what I'm interested in is the revs, and I haven't seen this before. I'm very curious. Again, curiosity, guys. Very important. Who's doing what in Ravazza 2? It's down here. Let me just zoom in. We've got the revs, we've got the throttle. And what do we notice here? I think Max took pole, by the way. Okay. So there's okay, here we go. So they get to full throttle before the lift, yeah, exactly what I'm talking about. Sometimes I amaze myself, guys, if you'll allow me. All right, let me zoom in. So this here, the throttle, they're building the throttle between Ravazza 1 and Ravazza 2. So this is here where I've got my dot, the top right. You're building the throttle. You do get to full throttle between the two. You also get the steering wheel straight. The crucial part for me is who's got the most revs on the dial from which they lift from. That's the most important thing. And who makes the shift up and who doesn't make the shift up. Interesting. So you've got here the McLaren drivers actually dropping the car down. Remember, they're in a different engine, right? So they're dropping the car down to third gear there. And they're upshifting and taking it in fourth, Ravazza 2. And then you've got Max. And this is why Max is like, you know, again, they're doing a different engine, but I don't know how much of this is engine. It's Max with more revs on the clock, isn't it? And you see he carries the throttle in a little bit longer. So if I just zoom in on the throttle, Max carries the throttle in a bit longer. He's more revs. He's the one holding the gear in that corner, isn't he? So that's where, now look, again, this is not, they're different cars and everything's different engines. They got different gearboxes, different ratios in as well. But it's striking for me that Max carries the same gear through Ravazza 1 and upshifts later to fifth. Whereas the McLaren boys pull an upshift before. Yes, they end up in the same gear as Max, but I feel like Max has got slightly more revs on the dial as well. Not even slightly. Max is at 11. If I zoom in on the revs here, guys, the revs from which they lift from here. And I'll read them out to you because you can't see it. Max Verstappen lifts from 11,013 RPM. Oscar Piastri, whoever's in orange, it's either Oscar or Lando, lifts from 10,711 RPM. And the other McLaren lifts from 10,800. Max with an additional 300 RPM on the dial. Lifting from that rev is helpful. I think it's helpful because it means you have less work to do on the brake pedal. So that's all I wanted to call out. Keep an eye out for that in Ravazza 2. It's so important for the cars, the way the car performs through Ravazza 2. Now look, the McLaren, it's going to be hard to compare because the McLaren's got heaps of downforce. They'll probably smash everyone through that section of track. But I'll be watching it and I'll try to normalize for that. So far as to say who's executing good technique in that corner. So it's just a little tip I thought I'd share with you is do you upshift or not? In that particular corner, I'd say no. Keep the revs high, lift from that RPM, and then go through. Okay. Quickly going to move through the next part, and then I'll take your questions. I know we've been going for over an hour. Okay, so the strategy. So I'll bring it up. I'll bring up the compounds on the screen in front of you. Images, yeah. Okay, so the compounds. The new C6 compound will make its debut in Imola. Pirelli have chosen the softest trio of compounds for the 2025. The C4 is the hard, C5 medium, and C6 soft. I just wanted to call out at this point, we've got the softest compounds this weekend, but we've also got the longest pit lane loss time in the F1 calendar this weekend as well. So what does that mean? Well, the tyres are very soft, so they're going to degrade. That maybe leads you down a path of pitting more. But then you've got the longest pit lane penalty time to make a pit stop this weekend as well. So that's going to lead you down, pitting less. So a very interesting weekend from a strategic point of view, guys. I want you guys to pay attention to that as well. And it's all going to really come down to the overtaking delta, which is the difference in time that you need, lap time, to the car in front in order to overtake them. If that's small, overtaking delta is small, yeah, pit, because you'll be able to pass. If it's big, stay up. Last year we saw the one-stop strategy, but we had the harder compounds, remember? So I'll show you guys what happened last year. Verstappen pitted on lap 24. They went medium hard. Norris medium hard. Leclerc medium hard. All these guys, they're using used hards at this point. If it's dashed, it means used. If it's solid, I think it means new. So medium hard, I hope we see something different this weekend with the softer compounds. Hopefully we do. But yeah, I wanted to highlight to you guys, we've got the softest compounds. We've got a big pit lane penalty this weekend for coming to visit the pit lane, and pay attention to the overtaking delta as well. Turn one, lap one's really interesting. Guys, this is really interesting. Let me take a drink. And then we'll get on to turn one, lap one, because where the pole sitter is slightly different this weekend. All right. So we're finishing on turn one, lap one, and the restarts. You guys can see the track map here. So let me tell you why this is interesting. So the cars, they come across the pit straight down here, and I feel like they're hanging towards mid-track, and eventually they make it towards the inside. What I'm saying is that the straight goes kind of like that as you head down towards Tembrello. The cars are driving sort of mid-track down here. And the grid slot, this is pole position here, down here. This is one. And then number 2 down here. So I feel like for the first time in a while, you might not be able to see that down there. Should I remove the track map and draw it? I'll draw it bigger for you guys. Give me a sec. I'm getting ahead of myself here. I'll draw it bigger for you guys. I know it's difficult to see. Give me a sec. Okay, so this is our straight. Like that, down, and then towards turn 1. And I'm exaggerating the bend in the straight down towards turn 1. And the cars, as they come across the start-finish line, which will be here, cars kind of come like that. And I feel like, if I'm not mistaken, the grid is like 1, 2, 3. So for the first time in a while, or even maybe on the calendar, the pole sitter gets the defensive position. So it's the only time that so far I haven't been recommending that you angle your car across in the box. All you need to do here is go straight, and you're going to find naturally a defensive position into turn 1. If you guys see what happened last year, Max on pole, he didn't do anything in terms of defensive posture. He just went straight and already took the lead and had a nice defensive position. If P2 gets a good launch here, we just draw probably our friend in orange, they're on the outside, so it's going to be hard to get up the inside. Not really anticipating a switch between P1 and P2 down into turn 1 for that reason. Now, if it was the reverse, then like we saw in Jeddah, maybe Oscar can get up the inside, but I don't think it's going to happen here because pole is actually on the inside for this weekend. So I thought I'd call that out to you guys as well. Now, in terms of restarts, I think it's, I was having to think about this today, actually. If you do get a restart, and again, as a driver, you've got to be thinking about this, right? Particularly if you're in one of the top cars like Mercedes, like Red Bull, like McLaren. What do you do on the safety car restart? So the safety car comes in, you're cruising down the back straight here, and now you're thinking, well, at which point am I going to go and send it? Now, no DRS across the start-finish line, of course. I'd say that the second part of Ravazza is tight enough for you to get on the throttle a fraction earlier than your competitor and keep it full throttle down the pit straight. I'd say that's the way to go. The other reason I say that that's the way to go is if you don't do that and you're here and P2 is here, it's actually not long before the start-finish line. So the guys can get a run on you. It would be very different if the start-finish line was here, because you can muck around, do a bit of weaving here, and then go, and you've only got like half the straight or even a third of the straight left. They're not going to slipstream you. So that would be an option maybe if the start-finish line was there. But because it's not, I think the play is to really focus on getting out of the second part of Ravazza early, pinning it down the straight, and because there's no DRS, I think you should be fine. I think that's the way to go. Amini Freila, your comment grabbed my attention. Leclerc took the lead from P2 in 2022. Yeah, possible, of course, if you get a good start. I just don't think you're going to get up the inside, though. That's, I guess, what I'm saying. Can you tell me if Leclerc got up the inside, or did he just drive clean past off the line around the outside? What I'm saying is there's not going to be a competition for the inside. There's one. All right. That's everything, guys. At my predictions, Antonelli's going to go well because he's a machine with chicanes. And obviously McLaren's downforce is always helpful. Let's take a few questions because I know I've been going for a long time. If you have a question, whack it in the chat. If you have a super chat, whack it in the chat. Did I miss a super chat? Apologies. I'm just going to scroll through quickly. But if you have a question, whack it in the chat for me. We'll go for another 5 minutes and then we'll wrap up. You guys talking amongst yourselves while I've been. Great preview, Martin. Happy to hear your forecast for quali P1 race P1 this weekend. What position will Franco reach? I want to say Antonelli for quali. I know it's a long shot. Look, if I'm playing the safe card, I'll say Lando or Oscar, McLaren. If I just don't want to lose my money, I want to play a percentage play. If I'm going out on a limb and I'm offering you a different look, I'd go with Antonelli because I think there's too many chicanes here and this kid knows this track too well. I think he was born in Emilia-Romagna. So I got half an eye on Kimi Antonelli for a pole. If Kimi Antonelli gets pole, can he hang on to the win? Again, I'm not sure the overtaking delta. Sorry. I don't know how easy. Like if the McLarens are just a little bit quicker, can they just drive past? How powerful would DRS be? Dirty air shouldn't be such a big deal here because we don't have too many long corners like we will have in a Spain, for example. It's going to be painful there. And this might be the blueprint for making good tracks that are raceable, tight, twisty chicanes and good straights and downhill braking and nice runs onto pitch straights and so on. So, yeah, look, I'm going to throw it out. Maybe an Antonelli pole. And, surely the McLaren, they had such an advantage last weekend. Surely they'll find a way to win the race. Unless, of course, the guys that are bringing upgrades have changed the game in some way, shape or form. Yeah, I'm not sure. Max, thank you for your comment. Always a pleasure to hear from you. Thank you. You're talking about Leclerc. He drove past on the outside and then took the inside. Okay. Yeah, that's what I think. It's with the pole sitter sitting on the inside, it changes things a little bit. Pole is more valuable, therefore. Okay, Commander Cody. Are Red Bull likely to have the same performance issues that they had in Bahrain? No, very different track. So Bahrain's all about front grip. Bahrain was very hot. Bahrain really heavy on traction is very important as well. You need a good car in Bahrain. Here, it's more, for me, it's more about just the driver can make a difference a lot more. Ride and compliance across the chicanes is very important as well. Driver can make a difference there. And we're testing a part of the car that we haven't necessarily tested this year, being compliance and ride over chicanes. So far, we've been testing front end grip, we've been testing traction, we've been testing long corners, straight line speed, we've been testing. I think here now we're testing something a bit different, provided the drivers are using driving across the chicanes in the right way, then we'll be testing the car's compliance, which is very different. So I think, it'll be close. And hopefully the drivers will be the ones making the difference and we'll see a bit of a different grid. So to answer your question, are Red Bull likely to have the same performance issues? I'd say no. Sorry if I pronounce your name wrong. How do you think the ability curb riding, how do you think the ability to curb ride efficiently will affect lap times in Imola? Hopefully I answered that in the previous question. It's like very, very important. So I'd be focusing my car's setup on that. If I had to compromise something else like straight line speed or front end grip or rear grip or whatever, I'd do it. Like I'm taking compliance each and every single time. Very important. Jordan Hill, do you think Lewis will pick up his form on this track this weekend? Potentially. Going back to the way he took the curbs in Saudi, it was frustratingly poor. Let me bring it up. Saudi. So what I want to highlight to you guys is he wasn't taking the chicanes that well in Saudi. This is Lando, beautiful. Next shot. This is Antonelli, beautiful. This is Piastri, the race winner, not so great. It doesn't do your front left any favors. Oscar. Lando, beautiful again. Leclerc, beautiful. Leclerc, beautiful. George, not great on the chicane in Saudi. And I'm trying to get to Lewis. Here he is. This is probably the worst of them. He's got so much steering lock on, but he's going the long way around the chicane. So if this is anything to go by, no. But the other issue that Lewis has been having is carrying minimum speed in corners, keeping downforce active. That's not necessarily going to be a factor this weekend. We're really testing how well you can connect in with the chicanes. Remember the Senna shot? Like the guys need to be, they need to be paying attention to that. I'll bring it up again. This one. You're going to be tested on this. A lovely photo. I love this photo. Isn't that a sick photo? You're going to be tested on how well you can get up the curbs and keep the car settled across them and shortcut the racetrack as much as possible. This is a lovely shot, isn't it? Even just checking out the curb profile, the car, Ayrton's steering lock. There's a fire extinguisher here. Well, go back. There's a fire extinguisher here. Few people. There's a guy recording here. Another guy with a camera. A lot of red hats in the grandstands. I don't know what that means. Ferrari fans potentially. Not many people watching Ayrton actually through there. The Marshall. Cool photo. Picture's worth 1,000 words. Okay. But it would be cool to hear. So the advantage won't be huge for the McLaren car. Yes, over the race. I spoke to this a little bit earlier. Yeah, maybe over the race, but if they can stick it on pole with their performance, which they should, like the McLaren drivers have been under-delivering a little bit in quali, then like there's no excuses, right? So yeah, maybe. They got a lot of front end grip. I think it's more got to do with that. Yes, it'll be cooler, but there's not so many long corners. So it's different. Like even if it was hot here, like it's all about the chicanes. You're not holding the wheel for such a long time. Maybe a little bit for the second part of Ravazza, but like a lot of people are fixated on the McLaren's long run pace, but like ultimately they've got more performance anyway. I don't know. I don't think it's as big a deal as everyone's making it out to be. Look at that suspension deflection. Let's have a look at that. I didn't see that. Give me a sec. That's why yeah, have a look at that, eh? That's mad. I guess you're talking about the wishbones here. Yeah, it's cool. It's a great shot. And just how stable the car is. Ayrton not making any corrections, but being very greedy with the curb. I think that's the epitome of the art. How to take chicanes perfectly. A few more questions. Vamos, Franco Colapinto. Ojalá que sí. Ojalá que puede ganar puntos. Ojalá que puede tener una buen fin de semana. I think Franco's been around here before doing well, apparently, in F2, F3. I haven't followed it. So yeah, hopefully. Maggie, sorry if this has been asked, but from the upgrades, do any pose real significant shift? I don't know how to answer that question. Maybe, hopefully, but probably not. You know how it is. Like, it's always kind of like, yeah, Ferrari take a step forward, Mercedes take a step forward, and also McLaren take a step forward, and we just kind of end up like, you know, if we didn't get a change in the hierarchy between 2024, end of 2024 and 2025, and with 2026 around the corner, a lot of people will be looking at that saying, is it worth me focusing on the car this year, or should we just switch over to 26? So I feel like what we've got is what we got, unfortunately. But I don't know is the honest answer. Don't quote me on that one. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for being patient with me in this live stream. I wanted to get through everything. I wanted to get through Senna. I wanted to get through Brundle. I wanted to get through Franco. I wanted to get through all of those pieces and talk about the track in detail as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. I'm definitely subscribed to this channel moving forward. I'm going to be putting out race analysis for all practice, quali, all through the weekend. In Monaco, we're going to have 2 live streams, one before the race as well. So I hope you can join me there. I'll be talking about that a little bit more as well. But yeah, enjoy the weekend. Barbara, enjoy the weekend. Email me through a few photos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.